live right now. Per tradition, we call this the minute to win it. I, of course, do have a great co-host here. We will introduce him momentarily, but we're going to do our shares really quick and get the word out. So hang tight with this, you guys. We'll let this warm up a little bit. And this is normally where like Tom talks and like fills the space with things and stuff.
Do you want me to talk and share?
Yeah, you got any random awesome news or things?
I mean, just everything, man. Everything is great.
Everything is great.
Everything is great. Everything is awesome.
That's awesome.
I was just trying to share this real quick to my page.
I can't multitask like that.
Neither can I, really. That's why I was just talking nonsense. No, everything's great. C2E2 was great.
Yeah.
It was awesome seeing all the people. I got some like super dope gifts given to me.
Okay. Gifts are good.
Which is weird.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not used to that. Yeah, everything's going very well.
All right. We are shared out.
Also, your backdrop is fucking baller. Oh, can I curse on this? No, I can't.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. This is
Your backdrop is fucking sick. I don't know if that what are those posters?
So those are the original Third Eye Marvel collaboration Blacklight posters. So everything behind me glows in the dark. The pops, the posters, and everything.
What?
The top
like
three
all Blacklight stuff. That's
the
so
top
sick.
three, the top three are custom framed. And I had to get normal glass to make sure they glow because the stuff at Michael's literally blocks light, so it wouldn't let them glow. So I had to get dumb glass in there just so they can glow. I'm like,
those are so sick. Those are Kirby pieces, right?
Yep. And then I got number 4 over here too.
Oh my god. So you're a big Galactus fan? Is that?
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say like you love this, like you love cosmic shit.
Yes. Yep. So if you know of anyone that does sick cosmic art, get me in contact with them. Because
what's funny is I actually so there's a guy that I really like, Daryl Young. He's done a couple covers for me in the past. He like prides himself. I mean, he's a huge Kirby fan, and he's an incredible artist, and like he prides himself on being like a Kirby style artist.
Yeah.
And his art is like the closest I've ever seen to someone who actually draws exactly like Kirby. Okay. But you should check his stuff out. He is insane.
Let me jot that down really quick, actually.
Yeah.
Give me that name one more time.
Daryl Young.
Daryl Young. Cool.
I think it's like Daryl or something. He spells it like a certain way. I don't know. But if you find him on Facebook, you'll see because his picture is like Kirby art.
Okay.
But he's incredible. Awesome. He did like a couple of homage covers for us. We did like a Hulk homage and a Daredevil #1 homage, and he did them like in a really like Kirby style. It was really sick. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's open it up. We're off to the races, you guys. We haven't even opened the show yet, and this is the level of glory that we're achieving tonight, and this is good.
Oh yeah.
This is good. No,
I'm gonna do a lot of man meat on this fucking.
I'm a little nervous.
Why?
It's because you're awesome. So
I'm like the easiest person you're gonna ever talk to on this show.
All right. Best drum roll I can muster on a glass desk. Hey everybody, it's a comic book look. It's your boy John on Demand, aka the comic book Hugh Hef. Tom is busy right now at a dinner, signing deals, being amazing, and being the Midwest Highlander, so hopefully he swings in through. But if not, I have an amazing special guest tonight. I had a chance and opportunity to meet this gentleman at my job, which is awesome. I get paid to meet awesome people, and that's awesome. So without further ado, special guest Garrett Gun is in the building. If you guys have seen the book Good Boy on shelves now, definitely check that out because Garrett is in charge of the 1s and 2s on that project. We had a chance to do a brief visit on the Rainbow Comics Facebook page. So if you are tuning in on YouTube or Twitter and want to check that out, feel free. We had a kind of like a 5-minute impromptu conversation, which was a super blast. I loved it. And we're going to be talking about Good Boy and all things crazy. Garrett has a full docket of stuff going on right now, and just a really rad collection of comics that are out there, which I had a chance to read and review quite a few of them. So I'm excited to get into that tonight as well. But first, Garrett, how the heck are you? We were talking a little bit before the show. You just had a couple of conventions, so definitely tell us about that. But how are you?
I'm good. Just like I said, I'm just slowly withering away. And also, speaking like that was like the coolest nicknames like ever. So you're like, I am not nearly cool enough to be like the comic book Hugh Hef or whatever the fuck you call yourself, or like the Midwestern Highlander or whatever the like that. is
he has long hair, is why. So I call him the
insane.
Midwest Highlander. Yeah,
that's ridiculous. Yeah,
you're in the right place.
Yeah, Jesus. I'm still just like obsessed with like I'm just watching this like backdrop you have. Like it's just I'm so jealous. Like I literally turned my lights off in here because if it was on, you would just see like the storage shelves of like junk, like shipping materials and comics and whatever nonsense. But no, I'm good. I just came off of C2E2 in Emerald City.
Yeah.
I'm finally home and like able to like relax and like sleep in my own bed and like not be going. So it's great. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I am gonna see if Ken can kill my lights and hit my blacklight for me. It looks like he might be helping out here, so you might see a little change.
What?
It's so much fun, dude.
I don't like how much cooler you are than me.
Oh, stop it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, here we go.
Oh,
there you go.
What? That's nonsense.
Oh, and you got Dr. Octopus.
Ooh, I was gonna say, that's like a Doctor Strange?
Yeah, Doctor Strange Funko, Doctor Doom. And then we got Venom is over there.
Dude, I was talking to John earlier. We were talking about the new Pat Gleason like Blacklight cover that he did.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? The Spider-Man and Doctor Strange?
Mm-mm.
He did this like Spider-Man Doctor Strange cover. It's like really just insane looking. And it's like all Blacklight because I guess Gleason's like super obsessed with Blacklight stuff.
Okay.
Which clearly
I need that.
Yeah.
I need that.
JJ,
if you're watching,
my life is a Blacklight.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, shout out to John Jesperson too, by the way.
Yeah.
Helping us get to meet.
No, I'm just playing. He's awesome. I love John to death.
Oh shoot.
He's great.
So you've been on the road quite a bit.
I have.
Is C2E2 it now for a little bit?
Yeah, I'm good until like I don't do anything until the Good Boy Tour in February. Like
okay.
I am staying home. I'm enjoying the holidays, hanging out with my kids and shit. Like I'm not doing anything. Someone hit me up. They were like, yo, I know this is last minute, but we're putting on this event. And I was like, nope, don't talk to me. Nope. I'm not doing it. Not doing it. I don't have anything until like February 19th. You guys can leave me alone.
Yep. It's good to have a life, right? Yeah. Good to focus on things.
No, not really, but it's good to just feel. I don't even want to have a life. I just want to be like stagnant. I just want to be still. Like that's it.
Yeah. How did the rest of the drive go? Because you put in some miles.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was most of the sketchy stuff was coming out of Seattle and like going into Montana. So like after we left you guys in Sioux Falls, like it was pretty chill the rest of the drive.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. We got into Chicago, got all set up, and then like we only got to sleep like 5 hours before we had to like turn around and be at the show. But luckily Chicago was only a 3-day show, so much more manageable.
Oh, I'm sure. How long was the Seattle one?
4 days, which is weird. I got them mixed up in my mind somehow. I thought Seattle was 3 days, and I thought Chicago was 4. And so I went into Seattle being like, oh, this is only 3 days. And I was like, oh my God, this starts on Thursday?
Yeah.
Holy, it was a lot.
Yeah.
But no, I love Chicago. Chicago C2E2 is, in my opinion, probably like the best comic convention in the United States.
Yeah.
It seems like, like New York is obviously bigger. It's the largest one. And New York is a great show. Yeah. But like, when you go to Chicago, it just feels like people like really give a shit about comics there, like more so than anything.
Yeah.
New York is such like a multimedia convention really that like it doesn't feel as like much emphasis is on comics. And C2E2 like takes pride in the fact they're like, yeah, this is a comic convention.
Yeah.
So it was
I
cool.
love shows like that. Yeah. Where it's not focused on TV celebrities and stuff. And it's just
like they have to have that at all of them because that's how you pay the bills.
Sure.
But it was great. We debuted Blind Justice there. It sold out. We sold out a Good Boy. We sold out a Franklin and Ghost. We sold out a bunch of stuff. So it was a good show.
That's awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad that you're having a chance to catch your breath and focus on some of the other items flying at you. So while you were at Rainbow Comics, you treated
Yes.
Amanda and I to a wide smorgasbord of things.
Yes.
First and foremost, I just have to say your personalization of good boys, calling you the brightest rainbow of all, is so on point, and I love it so much.
I thought I was quite
so
proud of that.
Yes. I am so delighted about it. So
yeah, quite proud of that.
So, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like, so it was improv too. Like I was like, oh man, I gotta like. Someone said to me one time, they were like, "Can you write something inspirational on my book?" And I was like, "No, what? Are you kidding me? You want me to like just off the top of my head just inspire you? That's not going to happen."
Yeah.
Anyone who's ever met me, nobody has ever left meeting me feeling inspired. So I'm like, I can write like a demotivational quote on there because I got a whole holster of those.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Sure," and I was like, "Try not being shit, Garrett."
Yeah.
And they were like, "This is kind of inspiring." And I was like, "Wait a minute. I was supposed to be the opposite." What I was going for. Yeah, not what I was going for. No, it's I was quite proud of that one that I came up with on the spot for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Plus you seem like such a bright, shining, being that I was like, "Oh, this person yeah, exactly."
Yeah. By the way, I got this shirt made for me where it says, "I enjoy romantic walks through the comic book store," and I was like, "I'm totally wearing that to work."
I like that a lot.
Early birthday.
It's really
present.
good.
Everyone was like,
"Early birthday present. When's your birthday?"
My birthday's coming up next week already on winter solstice.
Ew,
the coldest and longest day of the year.
Or something.
It is, yeah. There's a lot of like end of the world stuff around it. And I'm like,
that sucks. Like, and like birthdays, like my son's birthday is like right at the beginning of December too. And I was like, that must suck to have a December birthday. I'm like, you can't like. People are like, "Yeah, well, you got birthday presents. You ain't get shit for Christmas." I'm like, "What? It's not my fault." Your parents should have had sex like a month earlier. Then you could have had more stuff.
For me, it makes it easy to, I don't know, like it's that special time of the year, and then the rest of it's ho hum,
All the best things happen in December. Fuck the rest of the year.
Exactly. Yeah. We don't have time for those 11 months. So first of all, hopping into your projects here, Postmaster. Was a lot of fun. I can tell that there was a lot of current items going on in the world present in this. But what more interesting, you put a lot of yourself into the Patreon site and the description. And so it was really cool to like read up on it a little bit and kind of just get a vibe more so of like where you're coming from with it. And I just love that. You're tapping into your experience. And you shattered your goal, which was amazing. So kudos to that. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah.
So not only does this look sharp, and I'm super excited about it, and it really speaks to what's going on today and now, but it's just it's a passion project is what I get from it. And so I was just really drawn to that. I like that.
I mean, everything for me is a passion. I don't make things that I'm not passionate about. So it's cool, man. It's easy when you're when you like things that you do.
Yeah. So what does the timeline look like on this?
So the Kickstarter funded yesterday. We already, I literally was just looking, I got messages in like our group production chat, but like we just wrapped like all the art for the entire first book. The series is going to be 2 parts. It's 2 48-page magazine-sized books. They're huge, oversized books. The first book is all done. We just finished the last of the pages. So it's going off to print like on Monday, I think. And the books will be in hands probably like at the beginning of January, and then we'll ship all the rewards to the backers. So we should be like well ahead of schedule.
That's awesome.
And then we'll have a 2-part, like the second part will come out later next year.
Cool.
But yeah, it was awesome. The Kickstarter was really good. We were, coming off of the last Kickstarter for Good Boy, which was like just insane. Like we don't even know what happened. We were like, man, like maybe we like peaked. Like no one's gonna like that was our 15 minutes. We're not going to do anything else. Hopefully this Postmasters campaign does well because we want to do more stuff with it. But you never know. Like every time you go into a Kickstarter, you have no idea. You're just like, I think this is going to do good, and then it does terrible. No, it was great. Like you said, went way over goal.
Yeah.
Everything was awesome. All the rewards are going to be really cool. Like I've seen some of the proofs for like the packaging and the foil stamped covers and like all the stuff. It's going to be super sick.
Yep.
So,
heck yeah. Speaking of super sick, we are getting some super sick comments here. James from YouTube. Good evening, handsome gents. Hey, James. Thank you for checking in. James is amazing. Adam's covered is saying guns in the house with the fire emoji. We got Chris Hicks checking in with us on Facebook. It's the Garrett of the Gun.
Yeah.
And then we got Chad here. Chad is one of our very awesome customers. And I just got to see him this week. And he is just checking in saying hello, guys. And hello to you, Chad.
Hell yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, Postmasters is great. I like it a lot. It's obviously anyone who reads it, like John called me today and was like, so I read Postmasters. Wouldn't be any ties to like current social events or socio-political things in that book. And I was like, oh yeah, not at all. Yeah, absolutely. I love that book. It's a lot of fun to write. Like I just have found finally like my groove and like not caring and just like making the things that I enjoy. So Postmasters is just like the next round in the chamber. Like, we're just gonna do another thing that's fun that we don't care like if people like it or not. It's just gonna be an awesome time. So
heck yeah.
It's great.
That's awesome. Well, up next here, and I'm just pulling from the stack here. I have Mega Smash Way of the Dude.
Way of the Dude, bro.
So I gotta say, this was fun to me. Like when he's working on the soda pop assembly line, and you're screwing the lids on too tight.
Yeah.
Fine, I'll put it down and do it for mere mortals.
It
was just so funny. Like just the whole thing was just a hoot, and like the lettering was really cool in this one. I loved it because there's pages where there's hardly any dialogue, but the imagery really tells the story. So with you as a writer, when you have to communicate that to your artist or creative team, how does that go? And do you just say, I want this to kind of look like this, and you take the deal? We spoke on this last time a little bit.
I mean, I think, like I said, I think we talked before about how like I tend to write more like as like beats, where I'm like, this is an action, this happens, and then this happens, and then this person says this and whatever. I've found it's very effective to not over explain. And like, especially, I mean, Kit Wallace, who drew Good Boy and draws, Warcorns and a ton of stuff for me. Like, we really have a system of like, I know sort of how he draws and he knows how I write. And it doesn't like take a lot of communication. It's just like, this is the scene. Yeah, we're like, this is the scene. This is what's going on. And these are the things that are going to be said over these, 5 pages. And like Kit just comes up with the craziest shit. Like, I think the whole page where he's like there's the page where the alarm's going off and everyone's like running out. And I was like, I think the only description for that page I put like, everyone's losing their fucking mind. Hank is only concerned with screwing on the lids properly. Like that's all I wrote. And like Kit did this whole like people like screaming, like pulling their eyes out, like, oh my God, like all this stuff. And he's just like like focused on this one thing. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun. I mean, so there's not really like, that's what I mentioned before is like with my stuff, with our team that we use, there's not a lot of like, it's very easy. It's like autopilot. I'm just like, here's the things that we're going to do. This is the story we're going to tell. Christy, do you have things to add? Cool. Like here's Christy's going to add, hearty dialogue and like all the important stuff you have to have. And then Kit and Dave just fucking run with it. And Mega Smash, I think, was like the second thing that Kit and I ever worked on. He did Warcorns. I was like, I have this idea for this ash can. Can you draw this? And he was like, sure. And that image he did, the cover of that was the first image he ever drew. He was like, oh, I want to do this. And he made the logo and everything. He was like, here's what I want it to be. And I was like, this is perfect. Like that whole story is based on real people that I work out with at the gym that are like all like these power lifters that are just like all upper body. They got no legs, all upper body. And they're just like always at 150%. Like nothing ever changes.
Totally intense.
But then they're like super sensitive. Like if you like say something mean to them, they're like, why would you say that? Why would you hurt me? Why would you hurt me? So like that's what's so funny, like in the story where I'm like, he comes to me, he's like, there's like this moment between him and his boss, right? Of like, I know you need this job, Hank. Like, I'm not really trying to tell you like you're doing your job poorly, but like, your girlfriend already said like you really need this and like whatever. And he's like, I'm sorry. Like he's like so mad. Everything I make, I try to make fun of somebody I know because it's so easy to pull from that kind of stuff, you know?
Yep.
So,
dude, that was fun. It was a fun read though, and I was just kind of cracking up at it.
It's a quick introduction to the character.
Yeah.
That character will come back in the Blind Justice. We have the whole Blind Justice line that's coming out. It's called The Adventures of Blind Justice and Friends. And it's sort of like our like Justice League, like a stupid Justice League. In fact, it's called the League of Justice. And like Mega Smash is a character that will come back into that. And these ash cans are meant to sort of just be like intros to the characters that then when the main story comes out, you're like, I know that dude. And like, it's their little one shot that they get.
Heck yeah. So I got to ask too, we talked a lot about the main character, but I feel like we got to talk about that poor manager. So tell me about that. What's the skinny with that? Who was that?
I mean, what's funny is as someone who's a larger dude, that sort of like relationship between Hank and the manager is like every boss that I've had like in the last 10 years that was like, they want it's like that scene in Guardians, right? Of like Star-Lord and Thor like being like, I'm the boss, right? Yeah. They're like, of course you are. Yes, yeah, you're the boss. And like that's what's funny is like I would have bosses come to me and try to like I am not like I'm a big dude, but like I'm not a scary dude. And people would like I'm not a dick to people at all. And they'd come and be like, so we really got to talk about this or whatever. And I'd be like, oh, okay. And they'd be like, listen, I'm not trying to upset you. I'm not trying to do this, whatever. And like, it's like they're afraid to tell you how they feel. And I'm like, just talk. What is wrong with like, what's going on with you?
Yeah.
So I just love this idea that there's like this small boss who like has to like rein in this monster of a man and like is afraid to like be too honest with him because he could just like squish him.
Yeah.
And I love like the way Kit drew him, like he's like sweating profusely and he's like so just like, oh God, this guy's gonna murder me.
I just love like that play of like, if someone were to be breaking procedure, but it's not you.
It's totally you. But if you were to say this, like some people might think this is insubordination, but again, it's not you. Not you. And I just like that he like picks him up and like holds him in front of him, and he's like, who complained?
Tell me.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's awesome. But no, this was super fun, dude. So with this one, and then is it the other characters that we're going to talk about too? Are they also going to be in the League of Justice?
I don't know. Which characters are we going to talk about?
Well, we should get on to the next one here. Actually, well, I have two in mind. These next ones are not it, but I'm going to jump to this one because this blew my socks off. So, this is, any guesses?
Is it Warcorns? Oh, Go West! Oh my God,
this was such a treat. I was just like,
really?
Like I read all of this. Like I was on the couch for a couple hours, and I was just having fun. And like I said, it's just this whole portfolio. Everything is so different and diverse, and it's fun. Go West. The artwork, first of all, rocked. This one really jumped out at me, especially some of those opening pages where it's like really like laid back colors, and then you got like the red blood and the drain is popping. And then I remember one that had like a lighter. And it
where he's
that
like
really
lighting the house on fire, and it's like burning the actual.
I thought that was so pretty. And so first of all, just kudos, to the art team on that one. But Slade the Blade. Yeah, talk to me about that.
What's funny is
I want to stay on your good side if this is
so Go West was like Go West was like one of the first things I wrote. I think it was like my second series ever that I wrote. And I mean, I had been working on it for like years because it was like when I was in the military, they used to assign like the behavioral health people, like when you go to like get like therapy and stuff, they would give you like writing assignments. And like it was always like, tell me how you feel about this thing, and like what's your greatest fear, and like all this. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing I cannot write shit like this. And Go West was like the thing that I worked on instead. I've never been a person to follow directions, but that story was like sort of meant to be like sort of like emotions that I was like going through like while I was deployed and stuff. Like the idea of like not being there while like you lose your family and like not being able to see them again, and like sort of being disconnected from like this community that like wants you to like be there, but is like sort of a toxic like thing to be a part of. And so like I wrote pieces of that story without knowing I was writing that story. And I wrote just sort of like these one-off little stories about a character. And when I finally got around to like, I had published my first book, and they were like, the publisher was like, do you have anything else? I was like, man, I wonder if I should do something with these short stories that I wrote. And like, I built a story around them, around those things to make Go West. What's funny is this is like years before John Wick came out. And literally this is like John Wick. I realized that after someone was like, man, you really like John Wick. Like you did Go West, and now you're doing Good Boy. Like these revenge stories about like this. And I was like, damn, I didn't think of that shit. But no, Go West is a lot of fun. It's probably the most brutal thing I've ever written, because it was sort of written with like very raw emotions in mind. And like, I was very careful. Like I tried to be very careful, like when I wrote that book, because obviously we incorporated a lot of like cultural stuff with like Native Americans and stuff. And I have friends who are full-blooded Native American, and I was like, yo, can you come on and like, I don't want to like offend anyone or like not do justice to these people, like, and you know, what do you think about these things? You know, like we have the brothers that like attack that dude in the watchtower, like, and, like, you know, cut that dude's face open. Like there was lots of, that book was made with a lot of care, probably much more care than I have ever used on anything. But it was like my first big, it was like a 3-issue miniseries. It sold up and before Good Boy, it was my highest selling book of all time. We did like 6,000 copies of each book. And I was like really proud of it. Unfortunately, it was with a terrible publisher, and I had to pull it from them and get it republished by Sourcewine Press. But it's just, I love that book a lot because it was like my first big endeavor. So it was like a point of pride of like, wow, I did a whole story. Look at this. Like it's a finished thing. I love it. I love that book a lot.
Yeah. I was going to say, the Native American characters, I thought it was so cool. The rendition of like, you know, we're riding in on bikes, the way that they greet, and that there was an emphasis on keeping one's word, things like that. I really liked it. It was ultimately, I didn't encounter a character that was a throwaway character for me.
Well,
like,
the sort of like, you know, the thing with that is like, you see a lot in comics, and especially in like film, you get these people that sort of like use like Native American inspired characters as like, you know, a way to like create like a savage character, which like even just saying like a savage character is like super racist, but like that's like that sort of idea of like, oh, we're gonna have this really badass, you know, Native American dude come in and like fuck a bunch of people up. Like that wasn't what I wanted to like show people. Like when this chief comes in and like rides on these bikes, and he has this moment with like, you know, this young woman, and like you sort of feel this like bond that they have that's like very like honorable, and like very like, you don't have to do all this shit. And so what's funny is like when we did the twins, like when we were using the twins to like, yo, we're gonna have a couple of his people go and like sort of take out these dudes, I was really worried about having them do anything that was like too ultra violent, because I didn't want people to feel like I was using that same trope.
But
I had friends that were like, this is, you can do this in a way that's super badass. You know, like the people, like the Native American friends that I had that like read up on this. So it was dope. I love everything about that book. I find I rarely get complaints from people that buy it, so hopefully they like it too. But yeah, it's for sure that like the bloodiest, most like raw thing I've ever worked on.
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, circling back really quick, I have another thought on this book, but wanted to catch up on comments here. Bill is checking in with us. Bill is a friend of mine. He does a show, sister to ours. They're Comic Book Bears. They are fantastic.
Comic Book Bears?
Comic Book Bears, and they are an amazing human being. Yep. So awesome. I got to meet them in person. We all went to Baltimore Comic Con together in October.
Nice.
Which was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Chad also just had some thoughts here for us. I really liked Good Boy. I thought it was well done and darker to his liking. He's a huge Punisher fan, so it's kind of right in that vein of what he likes to read. And then he did follow up with, I would be interested for the where he could get the Old West or Go West.
Go West, yeah. You can go to sourcepointpress.com has copies of the trade paperback.
Cool.
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah. Yes, it was such a fun read. The thing about that book too is a lot of how great that book is a testament to like Stan Yak, the artist for that book. Like Stan, that was like one of the first things Stan and I ever worked on, and like Stan's like from like Moscow, Russia, and he's like very like yes, I draw a bad guy, like like he's a diehard villain in my like no matter how he like writes to me in Messenger, he somehow is like always a diehard villain when he talks to me. So like. He's always like, yes, I like this part where he cut his face off. And I'm like, yes, that is cool. And he's like, can I make it more bloody? And I'm like, yes, you can. You can absolutely do that. But he really put like some heart and soul into that book and like really made it gnarly, which was great. All it did was, enhance the experience. So. Oh, it was great. My follow-up question to that is like when the chief met the lady and it felt like there was a bit of a backstory there. Is there opportunity and or glimmer of hope for a prequel situation?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there is. There's, it's something that's been, there's something that's been kicked around. I mean, the three main characters that story is meant to sort of like, spell out for you that like, obviously Creep and Slade and Liliana like have a history together, like before there was this beef and like all this stuff. So like, there's been talk before of like, oh, let's go back and do like a one shot where like you see this glimpse into like, what they were like before all this stuff happened. Yeah. So that's something we definitely like. I mean, part of it's already written. There's stuff with that on the table for sure. It's just it always is one of those things that like takes a backseat to like other things that are more pressing. Yeah. And also it's something that like I feel like I can't fuck up. So like, because this is like pre-Garrett not giving a shit comic writing. So like now I'm like, damn, like this is like a real thing. I have to like really focus and like do something sick on this. So it's too much pressure.
I'm not sure if this is a loaded question or not, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So when you look back on this project, as an example, or any of your other ones, do you ever think I would have done X, Y, or Z differently?
Oh, all the time.
Okay.
All the time. I mean, like I was just talking the other day with a friend of mine. Like, so I every once in a while I'll get like a collector or a fan or whatever that'll be like, I'm trying to like find copies of this book you did called Days to Come, which was the very first comic I ever did. And like, it is a awful book. It is just terrible. The writing is bad. The like everything about it is terrible. And like. I literally burned like 400 copies of it because I just did not want people to read it. Like I had them in my garage and I was like, fuck, it's like threw them on a bonfire and like lit them up. But I was sort of forced to like, someone brought one to a show recently to have me sign. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like looking like, and I'm like, this is just so bad. The writing is awful. Like the characters have like no character development. Like it was just, I had no idea what I was doing. And I was like, just sort of learning as I went. I would change a million things. Anything pre Franklin and Ghost, like I would change so many things. Like that's the moment where I was like, all right, I feel confident in what I'm doing now. Yeah. Like I feel like this is the best thing I can make, like currently. But yeah, there's lots of stuff. Jet said burn that shit.
Yeah. Well, and I'm getting vibes here that you might have just increased the value unintentionally.
Well, that's what someone said that. So I told them that I did that, and they were like, "So what you're saying is I now have a rarer book because you took 400. Like we only printed like 800 or 900 of them." I was like, "He's like, so you burned half the market?" And I'm like, "Yes,
that's
absolutely."
Amazing. If you have any extras and you want to personalize it and say, John, I hate this book, but not you, you should.
I don't have any copies anymore.
Okay.
I got rid of all of them. I think the only one, I think I have a graded copy of like the second one, and that's it. Like, that's it.
I gotta see if I can find one now.
I'm sure you can find them online. I'm sure there's people.
I'm totally gonna go find one just so you can sign it.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so bad, dude.
What's the book title?
It's called Days to Come.
Days to Come. You got it.
It was published by Insane Comics.
Okay.
It was my very first published book. It is garbage, bro.
I am ready. But you can personalize the heck out of it. I'm excited.
Oh, and I'm gonna say this is the darkest rainbow of all. Like, this is
dark rainbow. Draw like a little thundercloud on it or something.
Yeah, sad. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, continuing on the tour here, this also was not one that I was thinking of for the League of Justice. However, if they make it, fantastic. We are talking about the Fear Diaries.
Yep.
This was so much fun, dude. It makes me think of like, kind of that Chucky mythos of toys coming to life. But that presence of heroism is just so funny. The whole culture of the book was just like, we know we're cute looking stapled together warriors and we're here to kick ass. Was kind of the vibe that I got. So tell me about this project.
Fear Diaries came like right after Go West. It was like literally the entire project was only because I wanted to write something that my kids could read. At the time, I think my son was like 3 or 4. And I was like, he like kind of knew like, oh, dad makes cartoons. Like dad makes like these books. And like, I'm like, yeah, you can't look at Go West. Like there's like a dude getting like chopped in half. And so it was just like, I mean, that's another book that I look back and I'm like, man, like I love that book to death, but it was not very creative. But I love it. I mean, the characters have a very special place in my heart. It's the first all ages thing I worked on.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. And it was like, for us, it was like, how do we make, I mean, the story of stuffed animals coming to life has been told a million times. And for us, it was like, how can we add our own little edge to this and like sort of corner out this little tiny corner of the market on this thing. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was definitely like, for me, more than anything, it was just more of a like experiment of like what I was so used to doing stuff that was mature that like, it was like, God, how do you do some of this stuff and like make it not bad? like and which is great. Like people that write all ages stuff or like YA stuff, like I commend the hell out of them because it is really difficult to like not lean into violence or profanity or like any of those things because like those are such true like raw emotions that like you have to really find a way to not do it. And it's really hard. I think the first pass of Fear Diaries I actually wrote like very mature. And what I did is like I wrote it mature and then I went back and I was like, okay, now I'm going to take it a chunk at a time. And how do I change this whole portion to not be mature? Which was way easier because like when I started the book, I was like, oh, I'm going to do this all ages. And I just was lost. I couldn't get motivated. I was just like, what the hell am I going to do? So I was just like, well, I'm just going to write it normal. And then I'm going to go back and censor it essentially. Which is funny now because now I like read the book or I see pages from the book and I'm like, originally that guy said fuck right there. That's funny.
It was enjoyable for me actually. My favorite part was just kind of that notion at the end of we solved the immediate problem, but we're going to remain vigilant. And I love that. I thought it was fun. I thought the look of them was really cool. So if that was you like saying I want them to look like they're kind of Frankenstein together and they saw lots of battle and that kind of stuff.
That was all Nick Turris. Nick Turris, my artist on that. That was like the first thing that him and I worked on. What's funny about that book is that when I first made that book, it was on Kickstarter. It was the first like sort of successful book that I did. And I was like, whoa, like I raised like $6,000 to make this book. This is crazy. And I had an artist that worked for Marvel that was drawing the book. And I was very new, very naive to the industry and shit. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to draw this. Like, just here, here's the money you have to pay me. And I gave him like all $6,000 and he just disappeared. And I was like, hey, bro, I'm trying to get a hold of you. Like, just nothing. So I was like, holy shit, I now have like 100, 200 people that I have to give this book to, and I have no money to make it.
Yeah.
And so I knew Nick on from just on Facebook, and I was like, yo, dude, I need help. Like I need to do this book. And it was the original version of the book that like the concept sketches that this artist had done were like much darker, much more similar to like what's on the front, like the cover of that. And Nick was like, sent me a drawing of them. Like that was the way they look in the book. And I was like, oh my God, I love how vibrant this is. I love how like much more like patchworky, like, stitched together these, things are. They're like raggedy and like they've been through a bunch of shit. And like that to me was way better. And I was like, in the end, I was like, man, I'm so appreciative that like that all that happened. Yeah. Because number one, it taught me everything I needed to know about the industry in like one book. And two, like they just came out so much better than I think it would have been with that other artist on the book. So
yeah. And I gotta give a shout out too. If I recall, there was a unicorn that like leaps forward at the anniversary.
Yeah,
that's so awesome.
Yeah,
the most fearless creature.
He says something like, "You mess with the unicorn, or like you mess with me, you get the horn, bro," or something like that. He was like a very like. I thought it was funny because I was like, I want to make this pink unicorn that like is always like pitched as like a girl's toy, and he's like, bro, just because I'm a pink unicorn doesn't mean I'm a girl's toy. Like I'm fucking dude, man. Like let's go. So that whole thing was like his whole attitude through that whole book is like, I'm just gonna like fuck people up. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna be super aggro. I'm just gonna like go at people.
He's gonna come at me, bro.
Come at me, yeah.
It was just so funny though. But yeah, I loved it. I got such a kick out of it. Shelly the turtle. I mean, geez.
Oh, Sherman Shellings.
So good,
yeah.
Dude. So
good. He's great with his like bat that he carries.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah. But these remaining two, these were the two that I was curious about if they're gonna appear at all. So first of all, totally, we've talked about it, the Warcorns. Yes. This was crazy and fun, and I chuckled so much when I was reading this. But I feel like this was, again, it kind of reminded me of Postmaster in that it really spoke to your experience that you had mentioned, like on Patreon and when we talked previously. So totally, it feels like there was just a lot of cool notes in this book. So tell me about this one.
Yeah, Warcorns. Originally, what's funny about that trade paperback you have is like the first Warcorns book is actually in the back of it because chronologically it's like the newest thing that happens. Okay. But I originally wrote the one shot Warcorns is like, oh, this is going to be fun. Like it'll be a way for me to like make fun of all my military buddies, like sort of take the like toxic masculine soldier like aesthetic and like just rip it apart and do stupid shit with it.
Yeah.
And we did it. We put the first book out, and like people like loved it. People thought like, holy shit! Like after like we ran it on Kickstarter, our goal was like 7,000 or something like that. We raised like 18, and then like I was like, well, this was really successful. Great work, everyone. Let's move on to the next thing. And like for weeks, I got messages like on Kickstarter, like, cool, like I read it. This is dope. When's the next one? And I was like, there is no next one. This is where Warcorns ends. I was like, spoiler alert, if you haven't read the one shot that came out in 2017, they're all die in the end. Like everybody killed everybody in the comic. That was the whole point, is like that you build them up as like they're the coolest, baddest motherfuckers that have ever lived. They're gonna take down anyone they want. The whole book is just a gimmick. It just leads you all the way up to the end, and then like they just accidentally all die. And I'm like, people are messaging like, when's the next one? I'm like, bro, everyone's dead. What are you talking about? Yeah. And then finally, like after like just the response was so good and so good and so good that I was like, damn it, I got to make more of this. And I was like, well, I killed them all. So until I figure out how to fix that, we're going to just go back in time and do from the beginning. And that spawned like the 4-issue miniseries, and we did a one shot last year called Birthday Bash, which is not in that trade. And it's just a series that continues to go because people just love the ridiculousness of it. I love it. I think it's fucking great. What's crazy is the original one shot was done in a much more like comic book style art. And around the time that like we finished working on that, and my other book, Franklin the Ghost, was like starting to pick up steam as like an animated series. And I was like, well, we know that they exist in the same universe. I was like, so I want to transition the art for Warcorns to something that's a little more, lends itself more to animation. And so I brought Kit on, and I was like, it was the first thing I did with Kit, and I was like, hey, I have this idea for the Warcorns. Like, could you do a concept piece for me? And like what you would make them look like? And he drew this fucking just insane picture of them, and I was like, oh my God, this is so good. I was like, well, do you want to come on to draw the series? Because I would love to have you do this 4-issue miniseries. And he just killed it. Like, he took it to a whole nother level. Like, Kevin Stokes, who did the original series, is an absolute monster and did this incredible art. And I'm like, but it just like never. To me, I'm like, this has to be more ridiculous. Like Kevin made it too badass. Like, it had to be just as badass, but also just as stupid. Yeah. And like, people like, I'm like, Kevin, they're too good. Like, this is like some 90s Liefeld shit. Like, this is like, they're so dope looking. And I was like, these guys need to look like morons. And like, what's funny is Kevin's coming back to do covers for us, because I want to keep him involved. But that transition to like that animated, ridiculous approach was like, I'm so glad we did it, because it really like gave us opportunities to do like really just, that whole book is like an acid trip. You're just like, what the fuck is happening? Yeah. It's so crazy, and everybody's just, it's so colorful. It's like your backdrop. Yeah. It's just
it was so delightful, and I was just cracking up. Like, just some of the phrasing that was in there, and the puns on the fact that they're horses. So it was rich. It was rich dialogue, and so mad kudos to you. I was just cackling the whole time. It was a lot of fun. But I'm not gonna spoil it. But in that last section of this trade, I was reading it, and I saw two familiar faces. Yeah. And the next trade was sitting right there, so I kind of did one of like these kind of things to do a double take, and I'm like, okay. And I was talking to John Jesperson about this, like, he's building a gun universe, isn't he?
Yep. Yeah. Okay. I learned very early. So it's actually called the Absurdiverse. Okay. Is like our like MCU basically. Like, I learned early on, I was like, oh, if I put everybody in the same universe, it gives you like sort of like an opportunity to like sort of shepherd your fans as they grow into like, you're not doing a book and then being like, hey, if you liked this, I also wrote this thing. You're saying like, oh, you liked this book and you liked those characters are also in this book. And they go, oh, well, shit, I'm already invested in these characters, so I guess I'll go read this. So when we were going to do like the Warcorns one shot, I was like, oh, well, Franklin and Ghost is already a successful series that I'm doing. Like, I'm going to make it a joke that like these guys are being hired to hunt them down. And so like, that was just like the first light bulb of like, well, shit, I did it with this. Now what else can I do? Like, now everything that I write is all, even Postmasters, everything is in the same universe. Okay. And you will see, I mean, you're going to see like, as it goes on, I mean, in Go West, there's a ton of Easter eggs in Go West of like other properties. Okay. Like there's there's tons of shit like across all the different books. Like, you see these little like Easter eggs and stuff, because those characters are all going to eventually we're going to do an event next year where sort of like the universe collapses on itself, and all those characters are going to come into one book. Yes. But like, awesome. So it's going to be like really ridiculous. But like Franklin and Ghost was, I mean, it was already like already had a fan base behind it. So it was like an easy way to introduce new characters to the fan base that already existed. Heck
yeah. Which brings me to my final one, Franklin and Ghost. This was a lot of fun. So again, I loved it. I thought it was funny, and it's interesting because these two characters really popped for me because of their skins on Earth, but also when they pulled him out and he was just kind of his main form. It reminded me kind of like a red squid kind of a thing. But I really get a kick out of just the fact that I'm going to be a fox. I'm going to be a floating skull. And it's so delightful. They're a fun pair. I really enjoyed that.
Franklin and Ghost represents like a huge turning point in like my writing career, where like I was ready to quit comics and like didn't want to do this, and like they're my Fantastic Four. I tell people, like when Stan Lee was ready to quit comics, Joan was like, you should just do this one book because it'll be fun. And he did Fantastic Four, and like that spawned everything else. Like, I am in no way like as talented as Stan Lee or as anything else, but that sort of same thing happened to me of like, oh, I'm done. I'm sort of like disenchanted with like the comic industry and like the people that exist in it. And my wife was like, you should just do this fun book that you've been working on. And at the time it was called Sherman and Ghost.
Okay.
And my wife was like, that's not a good name. Like, you should change his name. And I forget what happened, but like she saw something and she was like, Franklin, you should call it Franklin and Ghost. Yeah. And I was like, that's a much better name. So like, I mean, Franklin and Ghost was like, came along at the perfect time when like, I didn't want to do this anymore. And then it was like, it gave me this like outlet to be like, well, I'm just going to do a ridiculous thing that I want to do. And like, this is going to be fun. And who gives a shit if anybody buys it? And it's a blast. None of the book, like the book doesn't make like there's tons of shit that like just isn't explained like on purpose. And everything is just weird and out there. Like, you know, I love the fact that it's like, of all the planets in the galaxy that they would crash to, like it would be Earth. Like, you know, there's a lot of, I mean, the whole book is just great. Like, it's so much fun. Like, I mean, whether it's written well is not, I mean, it's not necessarily written well, but just as a whole, I love that book. Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
This whole portfolio, again, everything is so different, but it was just, I could tell you were having fun with it, having gotten a chance to meet you in person. And it's just, there's a lot of fun tones to each one. And so a little something for everyone. For those that are curious, we will get you a link to where you can obtain. All of these are available on the website. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, good. We'll get a link in the comments there for you. Speaking of getting to meet you, it sounds like you're going to be heading back our way. We're still working on like maybe a specific date, but tell us more about that.
I think I actually I gotta check the list, but we're doing so we're doing a Good Boy Road Tour in February and March. We're starting in California and we're going through like Vegas, Albuquerque, down through Texas, going to Alabama, up to Pennsylvania and Ohio and all this shit. And then basically coming back in a U and stopping and like ending that. You guys are our last stop. And it's going to be like a blowout party. Like I told Amanda, I was like, we're going to fucking tear it up. Like, I don't care what, like we better have a party. Everyone's going to fucking like, it's going to be awesome. And Good Boy Volume 2, the reason we picked February and March because Good Boy, like all of Volume 1 will be out. We're going to be launching Volume 2 on Kickstarter in February. And so this tour was meant to be like hey, we're launching Volume 2. Let's go around and do all these signings and like promote the book and like talk about the Kickstarter and like do all this stuff. So yeah, we're going to be coming to a shop near you or whatever they say. You know, a lot of our friends own comic shops and a lot of the retailers that have been super supportive of Good Boy and everything else were like, oh my God, how do I get on this thing? Like, I want to be a stop on the tour. And I was like, sure, we don't care. We'll come anywhere that people want us to come. We will come there.
Heck yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's just going to be me and Christy just partying it up. It's going to be
just
great.
Being awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, heavens, awesome. Well, as soon as you get a date, we will definitely share the heck out of that.
I feel like it's like March 16th. I'm ending it on a Wednesday. I wanted to make sure. Yeah. I wanted to make sure it was like the bigger shops that we were stopping at. We made sure it was like Wednesdays and shit, like Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays to hit those so that we like didn't interrupt them. Like on days they're doing like check-in for comics, like other stuff. But like, I'm pretty sure we end with you guys on a Wednesday.
Okay.
And we're going to do like, it's going to be awesome. We're bringing, we're doing a special commemorative printing of Volume 1 of Good Boy. We're doing blood foil variants.
Okay.
That are all the regular Nick Bradshaw covers, but they're grayscaled out. So it's all black and white, but then all the blood on the cover is red. And then the logos are all red foil. And so like we're doing sets of them that you can only get from us while we're on this road tour. We're doing like 200 sets or something like that for the whole trip. It's going to be awesome. We're very excited. Yeah.
Well, we're excited to have you, and man, I mean, the energy was real. Like you were there, what, like 90 minutes or so? And
yeah, it was
just like you're just signing books left and right. And
like, yeah, you should buy this book, bro. I don't know, like you should check this out.
That's so fun. Yeah. Yes. Well, good. Yep. Well, I am looking forward to getting that date, and we will certainly help get the word out. But a lot of good times were had when you were at the shop last time, and especially like your store.
I love it. I thought I could walk around that place for days. There was so much stuff. I'm like, when I come back, I'm buying like a bunch of those trading card boxes off the wall because there's some random ass card. I love trading cards, and like, oh, and your Charizard's got a nice little home back here on the shelf. That I bought before he goes off to grade. But like, I'm gonna like the random like, I think there was like, there was a bunch of like the artist, trading card boxes. It was like, oh, the Jack Kirby trading card box. Like, I'm like, okay, well, I'm obviously going to buy that and do like a live stream opening of that because that's so awesome. No, that store is amazing, and I'm very excited to come back.
That's awesome. Well, man, we are just getting lots of love here in the comments. So just catching up. Sleepy Reader is a longtime friend of our show, and actually, Sleepy Reader, if you're still tuned in, let us know if you went to Emerald City Con or not, because he's in that neck of the woods. We got Buddy checking in here with us. Oh, if I can do this right, there we go. Late to the show, hi all, with the horns up. We got Derek checking in at this Roadshow Roadie, which I love. I've always told him this. I met him at our comic book convention. I said, I love your profile picture with the Punisher War Machine helmet. So badass. We got Chad is wanting Good Boy Volume 2 on his poll list, which I will take care of. And we got MD Kogo weighing in here. If Garrett comes anywhere near you, go see him. They don't come better. Tremendous dude.
Oh,
I would agree.
I think he meant enormous dude. That was he spelled that word wrong.
I agree with him though. Plus, you give the best hugs in the world. I feel
like I do give pretty good hugs. That's absolutely. I'll take credit for that. I'm not good at a great many things, but I'm good at like a solid embrace. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, with that, I know we covered a ton of books tonight. Is there anything else that you wanted to lift up, or plug? For socials or anything?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on any of my social media at Some Writer Guy. If you can't remember who wrote this stupid book, I don't know, Some Writer Guy. My incredible, I call her my write or die, Christy Blanche, my co-creator on Good Boy and Published Masters and a bajillion other things. You can find her on social media, Christy Blanche. Kit Wallace, Dave Lentz, everybody that's involved in any of our books, Nick Torres. You should check out all of them because they're all far more talented than I am, and they're the reason why I keep making comics. So, and you just need to be at the Good Boy tour. That needs to happen, and then get ready to just get fucking turned up. Yeah, when we go to Rainbow, it's gonna get fucking crazy.
That's amazing. I'm excited, dude. Is this like going to involve, hypothetically, is this going to involve like some sort of an after party kind of thing? Or?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's going to happen.
All right.
We're going to do the thing at Rainbow, and then we're going to just tear the motherfucker down.
Yeah, we're going to go show Sioux Falls.
And we're going to get some of those bomb-ass cookies that I heard about. And then I see you guys post.
They're open.
They're Mary's open or what was
Mary's
that called?
Mountain Cookies.
Mary's Mountain Mary's. Goddamn. Mary's Mountain Cookie. Like that.
They're really good.
Oh, my God. When you guys post that shit, every time you post them, I'm like, oh, wow. They look so good.
Yeah, we'll make sure to have some on hand for you. Yeah, and I'm glad it's a Wednesday, and I'm glad it's in March. So I was really worried about that one week.
No, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Absolutely.
Well, fantastic. So I guess my final question is, there's people, of course, that are just curious about the industry in general. So if you had one piece of advice for how to approach writing a comic, what would it be?
I mean, I will use the same answer that I tell everybody, which is stop giving a shit if anybody likes your book. Okay. That's 100%. Like, write the book that you want to write. Don't write the book that you think people will want to buy.
Gotcha.
That's
awesome, man.
Do whatever you want, man. Yep. Like, the best and worst thing about comics is that anybody can do it. Yep. Anybody. Yep. Like, it does not take some degree or like specialized training. Like, just tell the story you want to tell and don't worry about whether it's going to sell copies. And in doing so, it will sell copies.
Yes.
Because people will be like, man, this guy really doesn't give a shit. I should give him $3.
Or burn half your stash, right?
Yes.
Don't do that, guys.
Listen, that's called market manipulation. We don't talk about it on a live stream, okay?
Yeah. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for your time tonight. I was so excited when you said that you would do it. I'm Tom is just not able to join us, unfortunately, so he sends a sorry.
It's Tom's loss. Suck it, Tom.
He'll be around though for the party, I'm sure. Coming.
Yeah.
Up.
Oh yeah. Not here for the work and comes around for the party. Real nice.
You'll get a kick out of him. He's actually the awesomer of the two of us on the show. So
he's not here, so he's already at a disadvantage. So yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, we're gonna wrap it up here, you guys. Thank you to everyone who's been tuning in. Holy smokes. Participation is an 11 out of 10 tonight. So thank you guys for showing up and making Garrett feel welcome. This is Midwest Nice, is what we do. But until next time, you guys, we are Comic Book Look. I am your boy, John on Demand. I am on the socials @John on Demand. If you're on YouTube and want to join our Facebook group, A Comic Book Look, to continue the conversation, feel free. We'd love to have you. Talk shop. We are proudly sponsored by Rainbow Comics. So if you're in Sioux Falls, swing by and say howdy at 42nd and Minnesota Avenue. And if you're in Lincoln, Nebraska, we have a team down there. Tim and Taylor are ready to help you out with your comic book needs. Garrett Gun, extra special guest here, representing all of his amazing books. Thank you so much again for your time. And you guys, I'm going to hit you with that traditional keep it comics, and we'll see you next time.